I'm Alan Spears with Occupy Democrats, and in a bit of breaking news, Donald Trump's campaign and bid to be re-elected as president just received a pretty brutal blow as one of his campaign staffers has been caught up in some pretty intense controversy. Now, unsurprising to anyone at this point, Trump, as well as the rest of his campaign, his staffers, and pretty much anyone he decides to associate with or has a network or a relationship with, is always embedded in controversy and scandal. You don't have to look far for an example, as just take for example recently, the wonderful Steve Bannon had to go to prison for 4 months for failing to comply with his subpoena. Then of course there are former members of Trump's campaign or his cabinet, such as Mike Pence, who refused to endorse Donald Trump for president, and really I feel like that should speak volumes as to the kind of person Trump is and the sort of environment he fosters and helps cultivate. Considering the fury and outrage that was displayed at the Capitol on January 6th and the fact that they were trying to hang Mike Pence as well as assault, if not outright kill, multiple members of Congress, it really does beg the question as to why anyone would want to be associated with Trump or have any level of loyalty or fealty to him. But like flies on shit, it would seem that Trump attracts the worst of the worst. And the people that like to find themselves associating with Trump or throwing their weight behind him or endorsing him for president, they aren't the best people. And that is actually what I want to focus on in today's story, is the fact that so many of Donald Trump's campaign staff, cabinet, all of them are just corrupt and just really immoral people. And in this breaking story and in a bombshell filing, one of Trump's ex-campaign staff has made some pretty serious allegations. Now, as a bit of a disclosure, some of the pieces in this story have not yet been independently verified for their authenticity. However, there is evidence that they are accurate or that they are true, as well as a historical precedent for many of the claims being in line with certain people's character. Now, in a series of bombshell text messages that have recently been made public, we have learned that allegedly Donald Trump's 2020 campaign had to settle multiple seedy lawsuits from a man described only as Boris. Now, these text messages, if proved to be authentic, are a pretty bad blow to Trump's campaign, and they do not paint a pretty picture, but this story actually gets so much worse. Those text messages were revealed by A.J. Delgado, a former staffer on Trump's 2016 campaign who's already embroiled in a lawsuit against the current campaign, and she alleges that she was taken advantage of and raped by her former superior, Jason Miller. Now, additionally, as part of this lawsuit, we learned that these texts that we're receiving today were between Delgado and another ex-Trump staffer and current co-defendant in his election subversion case in Georgia, Jenna Ellis. Now, these alleged texts that you should be seeing on screen right now have Delgado asking Ellis if they knew of anyone who had, quote, complained of gender discrimination, pregnancy discrimination, or sexual harassment. And this, of course, was during Trump's 2020 campaign. Now, Delgado wrote these messages to Ellis and requested that they stay between the two of them and asked for her to, quote, tell me the truth. In this response, Ellis allegedly responds, yes, off the record, Boris. The campaign settled multiple suits. Now, this second number that is allegedly Ellis that responded to Delgado said that they should subpoena the ex-Trump campaign staffer Michael Glasner and assured Delgado that she would, of course, tell the truth. Now, only having the name Boris from this number that is, again, allegedly Jenna Ellis doesn't exactly point a finger specifically. However, there's pretty wide speculation as of this point that this Boris is actually Boris Epshteyn. Now, Boris Epshteyn was an analyst for Trump's 2020 campaign and has continued to this day to be kind of an advisor and have the ear of Trump. Not only does Boris Epshteyn's position kind of line up with these events, Boris Epshteyn actually already has a history of sexual misconduct. Epshteyn was actually hit with 3 different sexual misconduct counts, but they were later dropped and he instead pleaded guilty to a disorderly conduct charge. He paid a fine and agreed to go on probation, but served no jail time. Furthermore, body cam footage from Epstein's arrest showed police speaking separately to Epstein and his accusers. One of the women told the police the incident began after he approached her group and invited them to his table for free drinks. Once at the table, the women claimed Epstein began touching them, quote, inappropriately, grabbing them by their waists and pulling them to his crotch. Now, if these allegations prove to be true and valid, this is not only a horrible blow for Boris Epstein's career, but for Trump's campaign as a whole. And I really can't help but notice the little irony of the Epstein name following Trump and causing controversy and scandal no matter where it goes. Now, these would-be charges against Boris Epshteyn are hardly the end of his legal woes, as he has also found himself in legal trouble for his alleged efforts to help Trump turn over the 2020 election. That should not surprise anyone at this point. He pled not guilty last month in Arizona to 9 felony charges related to the last presidential election, and has reportedly had at least $90,000 worth of lawyer fees paid by Trump's PAC. And once again, Trump and his campaign do nothing but reek and exude corruption. This sort of behavior is not surprising at all, and frankly, this is what we can expect more of if Donald Trump is reelected. How much overturning of staff needs to happen before these people realize that Trump will only value you and keep you around so long as you agree with him and are his effective yes man? As soon as you disagree, or as soon as you've outlived your usefulness, he'll cast you aside. Considering the fact that 40 out of 44 of Trump's cabinet refused to endorse him a second time, that should tell you how terrible it is to work with Donald Trump, to work with his staff, and to be in the Trump White House. Whatever short-term gain there is to be had with aligning with Donald Trump, it has proven time and time again to be, in the long run, destructive to not only one's career, but their entire life. Just take a look at the pathetic husk of a man, Rudy Giuliani, and see how well he's doing after associating and becoming so close to Donald Trump. How's that coffee business working for you, Rudy? But look, we will continue to keep an eye on this story and provide updates as this story develops and as these texts are authenticated. And for any would-be or up-and-coming politicians looking to possibly throw their hat into the ring with Donald Trump, do yourself a favor and don't.